My name is Jason Rogers. I'm the PM lead for Office Advanced Threat Protection. I've been working on cloud-hosted security products for Microsoft for about 10 years now. So if any of you want to, come and relive the old days of FOPI and BPAWS, I'll be at the demo booth after this for the rest of the afternoon, so we can talk. Today, I'm going to be talking about how all of those cloud-hosted security solutions have evolved into a single product that we're calling Microsoft Threat Protection. So it's a fully integrated, cutting-edge stack that spans Office 365, identity, endpoints, even the productivity suite, third-party clouds, infrastructure. And any of you who are interested in this topic, and obviously you are since you're here, I encourage you to attend a couple of sessions tomorrow. Rob Leffert, our CVP of Security, is going to be doing a mechanics session at 9, and then I think at 10:50 a general security session as well. So please check those out. So today we're seeing more and more highly sophisticated attacks. So cyber attacks have moved out of the realm of the individual attacker into international organized crime, into nation state attacks. And the reality is you don't even need to be a target. So often you find individuals and organizations just becoming collateral damage in somebody else's attack. So while the problem is getting bigger and bigger, there's also a shortage of people who have the right set of skills to deal with it. So, currently over 50% of companies in a recent survey said that they don't have enough security staff with the right set of skills. 5 years ago, the same survey, it was only 25%. So the problem is definitely getting worse and worse. So also over the last decade, the attack surface that's getting attacked has moved from really just being endpoints and infra to now including cloud identities, cloud-hosted infra, even IoT. So the problem is getting much, much more sophisticated and much harder to solve, and we have to solve it with much fewer people. And really when it comes to defending against cyber attacks, you really have to look at the full breadth of the digital estate. Like I said, 10 years ago, this was really endpoint infra focused. Now as IT managers, as SecOps teams, you're responsible for not only protecting the cloud, but also, devices. People are connected to your networks from the device in their pocket, from their laptops at home. It includes, your partners. So who you share your data with, who shares data with you. Any of these can be a vulnerability for your overall digital estate. So you need to think holistically. And so you can no longer really just draw a perimeter around your organization. And so, the challenge is how to collect adequate signal across this full space and how to reason over that signal in an intelligent way, respond accordingly. So while the attacks, continue to get more and more sophisticated, not only in how the campaigns are formed, but also in the payloads themselves. So, we see highly morphed short span campaigns that target single organizations or even single users within those organizations. But the payloads themselves have gotten incredibly complex. So it won't just be a malicious attachment anymore. There'll be a URL combined with a malicious attachment, combined with social engineering. I have a PDF that contains a link which downloads a malicious Office doc, which drops an executable, which exploits a network vulnerability. So a single attack is going to now span many different attack vectors. And it could involve cloud entities, your on-prem infra, and of course endpoints and cloud-hosted apps as well. So the challenge that your SecOps teams and admins have are how do you collect the data from all of those vectors and string it together into a coherent kill chain to really understand what's happening. In order to do that, it can take a tremendous amount of time. So the centerpiece of our investment is really intelligence. And we refer to that as the Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph. And so this is really the set of signals across all of Microsoft, across identity and devices and even non-enterprise properties. So think in terms of Xbox and Outlook Consumer. So we see a tremendous amount of data. So we analyze over 400 billion emails every month. And that includes detonating over 1 billion items each month. We scan 1.2 billion devices every month. And so we have a really good idea of what's going on within each one of these vectors just because of the sheer volume of signal that we're able to collect. And so, we see roughly 90% of the Fortune 500, they're using us to secure them. And so because of that and because of the sheer breadth of signal, we're really able to see attacks first. And because we share intelligence between all of our services and really between tenants within those services, once we detect an attack, we're able to block it for you as well. So if we detect something on the endpoint, we're able to block it in mail. If we detect something through a detonation in mail, we're able to block it on the endpoint and find it in your cloud-hosted apps as well. So across all of the entities that are protected by Microsoft Threat Protection, we collect over 6.5 trillion signals a day. It's kind of a hard number to wrap your head around. And I work right down the hall from the guy that did the calculation to come up with 6.5 trillion. And I made him whiteboard it for me. And it turns out that it's actually a pretty conservative number. So, the thing is having, access to enough traffic. So having enough tenants and having enough signals within each one of those tenants. And then also having a cloud that enables us to store that volume of data. And then ML and AI that allows us to reason over that volume of data. Really gives us a huge opportunity to protect you much faster from new and evolving threats. So this is all the properties that make up Microsoft Threat Protection. So everything that you see on the right, those are the products that make up Microsoft Threat Protection. And on the left, these are the entities that are being protected. So, within the identity space, we've got Azure Active Directory, Azure Advanced Threat Protection, and then our CASB product, Microsoft Cloud App Security. And so they all work together as a unit to protect identities within your organization. Same goes for endpoints. We've got Microsoft Intune, bringing in control of your devices, along with the native Windows Defender AV stack that's built into Windows 10, and then our EDR product, Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection. All of these work together to protect your devices. And then, of course, we're sharing signal constantly between all of these products in order to share detections across different entities as well. Within the user data space, we've got Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, and then, of course, the threat intelligence piece of Office 365 Threat Protection. So that's now being offered as a one SKU that you can purchase together. And actually, all this comes now as a SKU that you can purchase. And then, of course, the Exchange Online Protection, providing a basic secure email gateway functionality. We protect you from cloud apps as well through these products. And then we protect your infrastructure also. So this is a full suite that end-to-end not only protects your properties, but also enables us to collect signal across all of these entities, across your entire organization. Like I said, reason across that signal end-to-end. So this is how we really think about stitching those products together to provide a comprehensive threat protection solution. So, we want to, of course, first and foremost, protect against attack vectors whenever possible. So we're going to block everything at the edge that we possibly can in all these cases. But when a breach does occur, we want to detect it automatically. We want to detect it quickly. That's key. Particularly with nation states, now it's faster and faster and faster for them to break out from that first contact. So really, quick detection becomes super important. And it's also important to be able to respond or remediate quickly. Just because you know it's there, if you can't contain it, it's not going to help. So we're providing automated and semi-automated tool sets that help you respond in an automated fashion way faster than your SecOps team ever could. And so finally, we've built education really into every aspect of the product. So we've got it in the classic sense of user education. So through Attack Simulator, which I'll be talking about a little bit later, where we allow you to train your users to understand when they're getting targeted. But we also have tools that are built into these products to help your admins and your SecOps teams enable what they need to enable and configure it properly. And also then really to understand how those products are performing within your environment. And we'll take a look at all that in a second. So in most cases, your security is really probably made up of several different endpoint solutions that are disjointed, that are bolt-on, and it makes for a really complex environment to maintain. And those devices, in a lot of cases, or all those solutions, don't really share signal together very well. So really, then rather than providing you a comprehensive set of security, really the complex services just cause more problems than they solve because of integration between these bolt-on solutions. And so the great thing about Microsoft Threat Protection is that it can really replace all of these point solutions into one unified solution that secures your full modern workplace. And so that's really the true power of this is giving you protection that makes you more efficient and minimizes complexity within your organization. So let me take you through the product a little bit now, and I'm going to run through some of the scenarios that highlight really how we think of the pillars of the MTP suite. So, we talked about the Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph and how that powers Microsoft Threat Protection. But it's really these 5 pillars and how we weave those signals together in a way that really offers optimal protection for you. So for the remainder of the session, I'm going to show you some of the MTP capabilities, which are going to align to these pillars. So first of all, Microsoft Threat Protection enables integration across a wide range of services. So this integration helps reduce complexity and really helps surface signal and gives you additional controls and allows you easy access to your entire security footprint. So one of your main challenges is going to be making sense of all of this signal that I'm talking about. We do a lot of it for you. We do as much as we possibly can for you. We respond in an automated way as much as we possibly can. I mean, acquiring the signal really isn't the challenge anymore, but taking intelligent action quickly is the hard part. So let me show you some screens from the new Microsoft Security Center. Microsoft Security Center is the new MTP portal, and so it gives you, as an admin, visibility across your entire security environment, allows you to have controls and manage your policy all in one single place, and gives you access to all of these MTP solutions from one portal. So it's a big step forward compared to the kind of siloed portals that we had before. We're pretty excited about it. Jump through this. So there it is. That's the Microsoft 365 security portal. This is the home page, and so it has sets of cards that help you to assess the security state of your organization at a glance. So if you're a security admin or even security ops, this will tell you at a glance what's going on in your organization today. So depending on if you've been assigned the SecOps RBAC roles versus SecAdmin RBAC roles, you'll see slightly different views in this portal. So we've customized it based on your role, and you'll have the opportunity to customize it even more. So you see a dashboard that really works for you. So I want to talk a little bit about Secure Score first. So Secure Score assesses your security posture and gives you recommendations back. So we look at how you're configured across your entire organization, and we look at the threats that are hitting your organization, and we're able to kind of tell you what your score would be versus the kind of the optimal score that we think that you could get to. And we'll give you suggestions to make it easy for you to get your score to where it needs to be to really improve your overall security posture. So it's, we cover the same kind of entities that we've been talking about. We give you individual scores for identity, for data, for your devices, your hosted apps, and infra. And then as you improve your scores in each one of these areas, you can see your total score as well as your trend over time. So you can drive to get better. This is part of the kind of that in-product admin learning experience that I was talking about. And so this is an example where we're saying, hey, you've got admins within your organization that aren't using multi-factor auth. That puts you at risk for those admins getting phished. So we want you to go ahead and enable MFA, and we make it super easy for you to do. You can take action immediately right here from the portal, and we'll take you right to the place where you can turn it on. And so we've got controls for our entire stack in here to help you better configure the product and improve your security posture. And so you can see back here, we also were kind of organized by those same entities that we've been talking about the whole time. And so, really what we're doing is helping you decide where to focus your resources day in and day out in order to solve immediate problems. So, seeing things like what users are at risk, who's been receiving the most phish, is there a spike in alerts that you need to address? And speaking of alerts, when we do see something happening within your organization, when we start detecting some kind of attack, a phishing attack or a malware attack or something suspicious that's going on in your AD infrastructure, when we detect a signal, we pop a threat for you. And so you get threats across this entire MTP stack in one combined place. So you'll see everything from across your entire organization in this view. And so, for example, here's an alert for a phishing campaign, like I was talking about. So this is an example where we detected that someone there was an attempt to phish this person. We were able to block it, but we'll give you an alert in this case. And as we move forward towards more and more automation, alerts become incredibly important. We drive our automation off of these alerts. So when something happens, if there's some sort of miss campaign that we detect, we'll be able to take action off of these alerts. So you'll see alerts spawning investigations, which spawn additional alerts. Really, this is kind of a launching off point for the full vision of what Microsoft Threat Protection is and will be. But the journey really is about solving the challenge of how to make you more efficient, so the resources that you have can spend more time making your organization more safe, doing value-added things. So the things that are really time-consuming and really expensive, like the signal collection and correlation, and even response, we're going to be able to do for you now. And you're going to see us moving more and more out of these siloed stacks into this one pane of glass view. So the Microsoft Security Center really addresses the challenge of just overwhelming signal by giving you some of the things that I've shown you to really make sense of all the signals and all the correlation. It helps reduce the complexity within your organization, and then of course it's really all about manpower. It's about allowing your resources to chase the real threats, lowering your costs. So now let me move on to the intelligence pillar. So all of the services in MTP are driven by intelligence. We've been talking about it a lot, the intelligence security graph. And it's really what allows us to correlate all these threat signals into something that's cohesive and actionable for you. So let me now walk you through part of the product that shows the intelligence behind MTP and how we think about some common threats. So in order to combat these really complex threats, so things that are happening across multiple attack surfaces and things that impact multiple entities, we've got kind of a unified investigation experience. So I'm going to show you an example from an attack that's a kind of identity-based and how it spawns out. So in this example, we're going to combine the capabilities of 3 of our services, so Azure ADP, CASB, and Azure AD Identity Protection. And so once again, Azure Advanced Threat Protection provides information about what's going on with on-premise with your domain controllers, and we collect all that data in the cloud. Azure Active Directory Identity Protection provides information about sign-in activity and in Azure Active Directory as well as ADFS. And then, of course, MCAS. This is going to collect user sessions from across your entire cloud environment. So that's Microsoft products plus non-Microsoft products. So we'll get signal when you log into our portals. We'll get signal when you log into to other cloud providers. So all these work together in order to solve the problem. So here's the attack that we're going to walk through. So and you can see it's really about these environments becoming more complex. So customer environments, obviously now still spanning the cloud, spanning on-prem, and so defending against these attacks becomes very difficult. So this is a typical attack that I'm sure a lot of you see every day. So the attack starts on day 1 with the threat actors leveraging a password spray attack. So could be a lot of things, but in this case we'll go a password spray attack. So target a huge number of users with a couple of known compromised passwords and try to connect them up. And so really the goal here is to gain access into their O365 admin environment. And in this example, they don't have MFA. So once they get those login credentials, now they've got global admin access to the tenant. So then using the credentials, the attacker conducts mailbox searches. And so, the idea there is gain intelligence to move laterally within the organization. And so instead of hanging out in the boxes, the attacker sets up automatic exfiltration. So, you can easily set up rules in your email to automatically forward your mail. You can do the same thing in SharePoint. So at this point, even if you did discover that the creds were compromised, the data is still going to be continuously exfiltrating. And so at the same time, the attacker steals VPN credentials. And so then leverages that to connect to on-prem. So now we've moved laterally from a cloud attack to an on-premise attack. And so now they're inside of your corporate network. And then once you're inside of the network, you can use techniques like pass the ticket attacks to compromise, move laterally within the environment. In the case that I'm showing here, this customer, and I think this was based on something we saw, didn't discover the breach for 6 months. And so that's surprisingly common, that these things will happen and you'll have an attacker that just rattles around in your organization for a very long period of time. So anything that you can do to more quickly understand that you're under attack and contain that attack is of huge benefit to your organization. But with Microsoft Threat Protection, we can take action really fast. So in this case, particularly in the case of account compromise. So this is the Azure AD Identity Protection Portal. And so this is linked to from the MTP portal. And we can see any risky user based on abnormal sign-in behavior that we see in this tenant. So in this case, we've detected some new and risky users. So let me go ahead and drill in. So this is the risky users page. And we're gonna dig in on Jeff. So when we click on Jeff, we see that several options become available for deeper investigations. So we can look at risky events across Jeff, not related just to this specific incident, but we can look at all risky sign-ons that Jeff's had in one spot. So we can see that there was not only a risky sign-on in this event, but there were also leaked credentials from the user. So Jeff's credentials were discovered on the web. So we went off and did a search, and someone has been selling Jeff's credentials. And so this is a strong indicator that he may be compromised. We don't necessarily know at this point that the account's been used by an attacker, but we can start that investigation. And so now we can switch over to Azure ATP. And once again, the integration between the two products makes it super easy to do this. And so let's jump over to ATP and once again take a look at Jeff. So now this is the Azure ATP dashboard that we deep linked into, and we're specifically looking at activity here from Jeff's account. Looks like Jeff has been very bad. And so in addition to the Azure AD information with things like his high risk score, we see that that Azure ATP has automatically prioritized Jeff as someone that needs to be investigated. So this is another way that we help your SecOps teams make good decisions to have maximum impact on your organizations. In a typical, I don't know how many of you, in large organizations, your SecOps teams could have hundreds of these to investigate every day. So understanding what the highest priority ones, the ones that are most likely to yield fruit is incredibly important. And so when we do these investigation priorities, it's built not only from the alerts, but also from activities, both from the cloud and on-premise. So individually, these activities may not mean much, but when you combine them, it becomes pretty obvious that something's wrong with Jeff. So when we scroll down the alerts, we can see that there have been leaked credentials. Here's the leaked credential alert that we saw from Azure AD Identity Protection. So next we see a risky sign-in alert. So this is from Azure Active Directory again, and it's the first indication that Jeff's account was compromised by the attacker. And then think back to the attack that I described. One of the exfiltration methods that was used was to set up a rule to exfiltrate mail from email. And so if we click on the alert for that, we can get some additional information about exactly what happened here. So we see that there's some additional items here as well. So the alert shows a session originating from a Tor address, right? Obviously highly suspicious. And so we also get some recommendations here that of some things that we can do quickly in order to protect Jeff going forward. So, add in an access policy to restrict his login. On the previous window here now, we can look at, at another alert, the abnormal access to protected documents. And so this is another good sign of exfiltration. And so this information comes from AIP, Azure Information Protection. And so not only do we know that Jeff has been exfiltrating documents, but we know that those documents are potentially confidential documents. So AIP allows you to label things as to how confidential they are, and so we can get a sense that we've got some important information leaving the organization through Jeff's account. And now this is the suspicious VPN connection that was made from Jeff's account. So this is where Jeff was making lateral movement to on-prem. And so this is kind of the first note that we've got that says, this is making us think that he's now moving from the cloud to on-prem. If we drill into that alert, we can also see where he logged in from. And so, that was logging in from Manila, which is not where Jeff normally works. And so, continuing on, another threat, these are just piling up here now. The first alert in this list is suggesting that Jeff may have done some reconnaissance through the directory. He used directory services queries from his account, which means he's looking to spread out laterally to other accounts. So we've got Jeff who came in, started exfiltrating email, started exfiltrating documents. We were able to tell that those documents were things that were important to the organization. We know that Jeff tried to move laterally on-prem, and we know that he did it from a place where he doesn't normally work. So now we see that Jeff is moving out to try to take other accounts as well. And so drilling into this alert, we see that Jeff queried a domain exposed to Ron, as well as the help desk group. And so we can dig into Ron as well and look at his account information. So now we're looking at the dashboard of Ron Harper in Azure ATP. We see that there is a high pry alert here, so that Ron doesn't have a AAD risk score in this case. But it appears that his account has been compromised, which is why we set that investigation priority to high, even though his risk isn't necessarily high. As his account, we've identified the pass the ticket attack. So not only is it, hey, there's been some strange behavior, but we help provide you with some context as to what that behavior is and what the intent of it might be. So, once again, drilling into that alert, we can see that Ron's Kerberos ticket was taken from this device, this RDP server, and then used on another device to access the SharePoint server. So once again, now Ron's going after more information. So the information shows that Ron has never accessed finance information. He's not been in these particular SharePoint servers before, so this is abnormal behavior for Ron. So we're able to identify him by comparing what his normal behavioral patterns are in these products to what he's doing today, that he's probably not really Ron. And so, being able to combine both cloud and on-premise activities allows us to really widen the net. And so in this case, we were able to pick up Ron from Jeff, and now we're seeing the full scope of the attack. And so, don't forget, in a pass the ticket attack, the user's credentials are taken from a compromised device and then used elsewhere on the network. And so while we're focused on the user account, we also need to remediate all the devices. And so this is once again where having this full stack of products that are integrated comes in very handy. So we can automatically link from Azure ATP to Windows Defender ATP and go off and investigate all of Ron's devices as well. So now that we've seen the user's information, we know that the threat actor has also accessed a server. That was that RDP server that we were looking at. This is one of the most significant attributes of Microsoft Threat Protection, the capability to offer security across, not just a single siloed threat, but really stitch these signals together into a cohesive view of the attack. And so you can see here, this is his lateral movement. And there we go. So we're now digging into to the Azure Security Center, so securing your servers. And so we provide endpoint security for your Windows servers using Windows Defender ATP. And then that offers you instant insights into the threats impacting your infra. So a combination of Azure ATP plus Windows Defender ATP gives you a really, really good view into your infrastructure. And so it enables you to also explore threats through this interactive investigation pane. So now we're going to use Azure Security Center to detect that suspicious VM that we think was compromised by a threat actor. So, Security Center is continuously analyzing your hybrid clouds, using advanced analytics, using threat intelligence. So, once again, combining what's going on with Azure ATP, what's going on with Windows Defender ATP. And so I'm going to click on a security alert from the overview dashboard, and you can see that there's a list of alerts from Microsoft that are going to get prioritized by severity. And so in the list of alerts, you can click on an individual incident. So on this screen, you've got the security incident description on top, the list of alerts that are part of the incident, and when you click on the alert, that you want to investigate further, you get additional flyout panes with more information. So on the security alert page, you'll eventually end up at an investigation map, and so this is really trying to describe to you what the investigation is that's taking place. You can understand all the entities that are involved and everything that's been investigated. So the entity that gets selected on this map obviously gets its properties highlighted over on the right-hand side, so it's very easy to explore everything that's going on within the investigation. The information on each tab across the top there is obviously going to get updated depending on what you've selected on the investigation graph. So if this happens to be something that was a WDATP detection, then we can give you even more information because we've got that EDR information to fall back on. And that tab is obviously the one that's highlighted. So to explore that threat, you'll click on the link. So this is from the Security Center to go directly into the WDATP console. Once again, everything is very, very connected. So that's a quick view into how we think about intelligence and how we apply the signal that we gain from the intelligence security graph cross-product, how the products are connected together to provide you with a seamless experience, really so you can chase the threat and not have to be concerned about which product you're chasing it through. So next I want to talk about automation. Once again, this is really key because it's about time. It's about taking those tasks that your SecOps team does day in and day out and replacing them with automations that can be focused on more important things. It's about completing the investigations, completing remediations faster and faster so you can get them done before breakout occurs. And so, we'll dig in a little bit and look at some of our automation solutions, and I'll try to point out along the way how they're going to save you money and save you time and ultimately give you better security. So you're really like what we're doing right now is just the kind of the tip of the iceberg of where this is going in terms of what we're going to be able to do. Being able to take action in an automated way across products, have one investigation lead to another, it is going to lead to really, really fast remediations. So this is an example of an alert in Office 365 that was a URL that was weaponized post-delivery. So this happens a lot of the time. An attacker will send a URL through email, and post-delivery, they'll weaponize the URL. And so, if you've got Office ATP, safe links will detonate that at time of click, and we'll figure out after it's happened that URL was weaponized, but it's post-delivery. So now there's an investigation, potentially remediation that needs to take place. So this type of alert would typically be invested manually by a SOC team today. And so this is where our automation for investigation and remediation really comes into play. And so, once again, keep in mind as I walk through here, these are all correlated alerts across the organization. So you can see that the alert in this case identifies a URL that was recently weaponized, like we talked about. And Office 365 Threat Intelligence has automatically triggered the investigation based on the alert. So you can configure that. So when we see this type of alert, say, hey, let's automatically go off and initiate an automated investigation and do some automated response. And so we've also resolved the alert in this case because the investigation has been complete. So we'll take care of that end to end for you. So when we click on the investigation, deep link from the alert, you get a summary. So this should look kind of similar to what you see in Windows Defender ATP and what we were just looking at in the Security Center. So you can see everything that happened as part of this investigation. You see all the different entities that we looked at. You see emails, the users and their activities, the devices of those users, anything that potentially could have been impacted from the attack. And so, I guess looking at the breadth really amplifies the power of the automation for investigation and response. We're able to branch out very quickly and very completely to other users that could potentially be impacted because we saw that they got that same URL as well. Plus, hey, we don't know what was on the other side of that URL. What we talked about in the beginning, a lot of times these things that look like credential phishing attacks end up with malware on the endpoints. And so through the integration between Office ATP, Windows Defender ATP, we're able to go off and do an investigation on their endpoints as well. And so we also, continue. Once you start investigating a user, we could potentially see that there are other anomalies on that user. So these investigations will lead to more alerts, which will lead to more automated investigations. So I think Jeff shows up on this one again too. He's having a really, really rough day. And so, really the key aspect of the automation promise is to correlate the alerts into some sort of comprehensive set of things that we can take action on, and then we'll take action for you in an automated way. And then we also help with the alert management piece. So when we complete an investigation, we'll resolve it. When we need you to take some sort of action or make a decision based on that investigation, sometimes we can't resolve it end to end, then we'll ask you to do that as well. And so we help you with the management of the onset of alerts that are being created through all of these investigations. That correlation is really a critical part of investigation and really understanding with a broader lens what's happening within that, that particular attack and then groups of attacks within your organization. And so, this view will show you all of the alerts that are relevant to this one specific investigation. So you get the triggering alert, and you get the other alerts that were generated by the investigation. And so this is the clusters of emails that we found through the investigation that potentially have the same problem. And so you can see that we clustered in a number of different ways here. In the top case, it was a cluster based on that URL being contained inside the mail, and then from that specific sender and subject. And then we also did clustering based on sender domain and IP, which in this case didn't yield quite as much fruit. So, just given the sheer volume of email that you get typically within your organization, it's really helpful to be able to cluster these things into campaigns and then take actions appropriately. So being able to separate the malicious from the clean, being able to take action on the malicious in the case where we haven't already. And so this tab shows the user view, so similar kinds of concepts. In this case, AIR identified the indicators of compromise and anomalies based on the login, and then of course the exfiltration, that mass download from SPO. We know that it was sensitive information because of AIP. And then, of course, additional details are available through the detailed views. I'm going to skip the machines tab. We're going to come back to that in a second, so I want to show you something that takes us back into WDATP. But we do provide you with a detailed log too. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of what happened during that investigation, you can go through and look at each and every single line item. We'll even show you the raw, JSON from the activity logs if you click in far enough, if you really want to validate a specific step. And so now I'm going to jump back to the machines tab. In threat intelligence today, you can kick off a manual investigation if you want to, but you can also manually kick off an automated investigation. So if there's something that you say, hey, I want you to go off and investigate this thing, you didn't pick up on an alert that forced me to do it, you have the option of doing that as well. And so, but inside the machines tab, you can also kick off investigations in WDATP directly from this product. So this shows the WDATP investigation that got initiated by TI in this case. And so it looks like Jeff got some malware in addition to all his other troubles today. But WDATP and that automated response was able to automatically clean his box. And then, of course, you can dig in to detailed log files of the WDATP investigation as well. So once again, automation is really about more broadly exploring that attack surface. So if you're trying to do these things manually, it's incredibly hard to collect all the signal and to correlate all the signal that's required in order to make sense of an attack. So we do that for you. In cases where we can, we'll automatically respond to that attack for you. It's like I said, breakout times have gotten incredibly low. The amount of time that it takes an attacker to move laterally to another account has gotten incredibly low. So the faster you can complete that investigation, the less damage that can be done. So finally, we're going to talk about our user-centric pillar. And so, we are at the end of the day a productivity company, and so we provide things to your end user to keep them productive and keep them safe at the same time. The security doesn't really work if your users can't do their jobs. And so, focusing down here on things that are really end user facing. We have safe links if you're using the Office ATP feature. We've recently enabled enhanced link hovering. So, we know that you've been making investments in link hovering training. It's something that we facilitate through Attack Simulator as well. but it doesn't do a lot of good if when they hover over that link, they see a wrapped link that either looks malicious to them or they can't really tell what the original link was in order to make a good decision. And so now, if you're using our clients, when you hover over a link, you'll see the original link, not the wrapped link. And so your users can make an informed decision about what they're clicking on. We also extend our protections from safe links into Word, PowerPoint, Excel in a similar way, and soon Teams. So we also provide you with information about the mail inside of tips. So in this case, some of our anti-impersonation tech detected that it looks like this sender is trying to impersonate a domain that's associated with your organization. And so we're able to detect spoof, and we're able to detect impersonation, and we let those users know that they're potentially at risk. Hover. So Hover will be on the mobile clients. It's not as common because you can't really hover. You have to do the long press. But yeah, that'll be coming in our mobile clients as well. So this is Teams that I was talking about. Teams is becoming more and more popular. We realize that an attacker can just as easily drop a malicious link into Teams as they can in mail. So we're moving safe links into Teams as well. So within the chat, whenever a URL gets clicked on, we make API calls into the safe links backend and check to see that URL is safe. And then we also asynchronously at time of click detonate that URL inside of our sandboxes to make sure that we've got the last possible up-to-date reputation. If we find out it's bad, then of course we'll alert you, and it kicks off that full range of automatic investigation remediation. So this just shows what happens when you click on that link. You get the same kind of experience that you do in email, where we present a block screen to the user and tell them that they need to be cautious. And you can choose whether or not you want them to continue on to the website or not. As an admin, you can say that for your organization, I just want it to be a hard block, and they don't have the option of moving to a new organization or to going on to the web page, clicking through. And so this is a attack simulator. We were talking about anti-phish training. That's probably the most common kind of user training that's done through this kind of thing. And we can certainly do that through spear phishing training. But we also have other types of attacks that you can perform. So we've got brute force password attacks and password spray attacks. I think there are 6 additional. They're going to be coming out here shortly. And so you can attack your own organization for training your end users, for training your SecOps teams. And so, this works in a similar way to the tools that you're probably used to. We'll send out well-crafted phishing emails. When a user clicks on that link, they're actually taken directly to a training page of your choice. So you can say, hey, if they click on this link, let's take them right to a page that's got a video on phishing, lets them know that they've made a bad decision. And then there's a full range of admin reports to let you know, who maybe you need to pay a little bit more attention to. So, you'll see more and more and more over time, more and more integration with the products that your end users are actually using. Things like, we'll continue to extend what we've done in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, continue to extend to other properties like Teams, and to your point, across all of our clients, mobile and otherwise, to really offer protection and more information to the end user as well as you guys as admins. And I guess finally, I want to talk just for a second, and we're almost out of time, on ecosystem. We understand that there are going to be other niche security products that you're going to want to use. And so, our number one goal is always to make sure that you're as secure as possible. And so, we've developed some partnerships through this ecosystem play. We're calling it the Microsoft Intelligent Security Association. And so we're already working with all of the vendors that you see down there. It's currently an invitation-only program, but obviously we're targeting some of the leading security providers. And so we're just getting started on this. We're going to continue to increase the number of folks that we work with to just make sure that we're extending our data sharing, we're extending our integration to all of the different tools that you use to help you secure your organization. And so we realize we're part of an ecosystem, and our partners are a super important part of that. And so, we're going to continue to expand coverage, continue to collect more signal through our partners to ultimately provide, better comprehensive security to you, no matter where you're at. So once again, to briefly review, Microsoft Threat Protection is a set of built-in security tools. So built into the products that you're already using in order to better protect you. So each component that we've got, that huge matrix that I showed you, is built on the foundation of integration, intelligence, automation, user-centric productivity, and of course working well throughout the ecosystem. And it's we think that we're somewhat unique in being able to provide protection across really all of the entities within your organization. So identity, endpoint, user data, cloud apps, and of course infrastructure. And we're able to reason over all of it to provide the best possible detections, the best possible remediation. It's built in, it's fully integrated, it's end to end, and it's everywhere that you are. Thank you, guys. I'll be up here for questions and back at the booth.